regard to the passing away of a woman who's been an activist in our community for many years. Her name is Margaret Haney Birch. Uh, Great lady. I knew her from when I first was a commissioner back in the early 2000s. So before we begin, if we could just take a moment and have show our respect for her. Okay, thank you. So those of us who are in the chamber, and if you want to do it at home, please rise so we can join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Mr. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Moritas?
Here.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Here.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Here.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Here.
Mayor Trentalis?
Here. Now, I'm just going to read a statement with regard to the virtual aspect of this meeting. The City of Fort Lauderdale is hosting its commission meetings in both virtual and in-person format. The public will be able to listen to and view commission meetings at www.fortlauderdale.gov/FLTV. Also, www.youtube.com/City of Fort Lauderdale, all spelled out, as well as on channel 78 in Comcast or UVerse channel 99. To speak on an agenda item, please click on the following link: bit, that's bit.ly/virtual CC meetings. That's bit.ly/virtual CC meetings. So to help ensure the same decorum as our in-person meetings, we ask that you please abide by the following guidelines. Number one, please refrain from any behavior that is disruptive, distractive, profane, or inhibits the meeting in any way. Two, while you're on the phone waiting for your opportunity to speak, please mute the meeting broadcast on whatever you may be watching, which is FLTV, YouTube, Comcast, or AT&T if you're watching simultaneously as we broadcast this meeting. I will call upon you when it is your turn to speak and also notify you when your time has expired. City staff has automatically added speakers in the to listen only mode, and you will be unmuted to speak when recognized. Finally, once you have completed speaking, you will be muted and may either hang up to exit the meeting, or you may continue listening to the balance of the meeting. A few agenda announcements. CM1, the memo is revised. That would be the revised recommendation and commission district. CM6, the revised exhibit 2, there's an enlarged exhibit. CM7, revised exhibit 3, also the exhibit's enlarged. CR2 is a revised memo. That's the revised commission district. And OSR4, revised exhibit 3, an updated map. With those agenda modifications, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes and the agenda?
Mayor.
Yeah. Oh, you have.
I did have one edit on the minutes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. On the Tuesday, October 20th at 1:30 p.m., the conference meeting, on page 4, on the second paragraph, it's a little backwards the way it reads there, and I can just make it really simple by just saying that on the 5th line, it should say District 2 residents along the corridor who assessed the 3 alternatives and they have requested additional time to present a 4th. The way it reads now, it sounds like they presented 3 alternatives and they did not. The Corradino group presented 3 alternatives. The residents actually presented a 4th alternative after they assessed the 3 alternatives. So that needs to just sort of be, the intent needs to be switched around. So it should simply read, input from Commission District 2 residents along the corridor who assessed 3 alternatives and they have requested additional time to present a fourth alternative. That would be the way it should read.
Is that your recollection, Commissioner Sorensen? Were you there at that meeting?
No, this was a meeting with just the District 2 portion of the Las Olas corridor. You had asked me a question about the timetable, and I answered you in that paragraph. So that was just a meeting that I had attended with the basically the Las Olas Isles and Beach folks, the District 2 portion of the corridor.
Okay. Any objection to that agenda? Excuse me, that minutes amendment? Okay, so someone please move to approve the minutes as modified and the agenda as modified.
Moved.
It's been moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and the agenda and the minutes are approved as amended. So for those of you who are first-time viewers of our meeting, in addition to the protocol that we just followed to open up our meeting, we also have presentations which are basically recognizing people, events, or moments in time within our community. And at this point, I will ask one of the commissioners to make a presentation with regard to that particular matter. And our first presentation tonight is with Vice Mayor Glassman to present a proclamation regarding the Parrot Lounge. Excuse me, the world famous Parrot Lounge.
Yes, I'm glad you clarified that, Mayor. Thank you. And I believe joining us virtually to accept is Tim Chavone and Joe O'Donnell from the world famous Parrot. And Tim, who else do you have with you there today? The bartender?
This is Gregory Hugh. He's been with us for many, many, many years, since he was 18 years old. And I don't know how old he is now, but he's under 100. Gregory's been with us for a very long time. He's our lead guy.
All right, excellent. Well, welcome, Gregory. So we have Gregory, Tim, and Joe with us on behalf of the world famous Parrot. So I'm presenting this proclamation from the office of the mayor. Whereas the world famous Parrot is celebrating 50 years, 50, of serving cold beer, heady spirits, and delicious food in the city of Fort Lauderdale. The world famous Parrot has long been recognized as a landmark tavern for tourists, beachgoers, and fun-seeking locals. The Parrot's long-standing history in the Fort Lauderdale community has been an integral part of the city's growth and prosperity. And whereas in 1968, William Boyd moved south, where he became a mason by day and a bartender on Fort Lauderdale Beach by night. 2 years later, Boyd realized his destiny when he opened the Parrot Lounge in 1970. And whereas in 1973, Boyd hired his future partner, Tim Chavone, followed by Joe O'Donnell a few years later, both of whom earned their eventual partnerships through sweat equity and tireless work ethics. In 1995, the founding member of the Triad retired, but the world famous Parrot continued to prosper. And whereas for more than 5 decades, the Parrot has remained a comforting symbol of consistency in the all too often transient and fast-paced atmosphere on Fort Lauderdale Beach, enduring numerous recessions in the economy, countless tropical storms, and more than a dozen hurricanes. And whereas the world famous Parrot is deeply rooted in the Fort Lauderdale community, and its success is matched by its continued commitment to giving back. The Parrot supports numerous charities and has helped raise more than $1 million collectively for these organizations, and hosted annual fundraisers to send members of the Fort Lauderdale Ocean Rescue to compete in the national competition for the past 25 years. It is the first restaurant and bar on the beach to use only ocean-friendly products, and was recognized by the Broward County chapter of the Surfrider Foundation for these efforts. And whereas the city of Fort Lauderdale congratulates the world famous Parrot for its outstanding service to the community of locals and annual visitors for more than 5 decades, and wishes it continued success in the years ahead. Now, therefore, we, as City Commissioners of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, do hereby proclaim November 14th, 2020 as World Famous Parrot Day, and signed by our Honorable Mayor, Dean J. Trentalis. Congratulations.
Want to say a few
Tim.
words, gentlemen?
Go ahead,
Sure.
Tim.
Sure.
Anyone want to say a
Take the
few
time to
words?
Thank you for that nice presentation you gave us. I want to thank the mayor and the other commissioners also. I do, on behalf of Tim and myself and the parish staff, want to tell you what an honor it is. And hopefully in 50 years from now, you'll be giving us another one of these. So thank you very much.
Well,
Congratulations.
let me just say, I know it's been difficult, gentlemen, these past few months during COVID. I mean, as a result of the governor's order and the county's order closing down the bar and really interfering with your ability to make a living, and all the people that work for you finding it equally difficult. I want to thank you both, because you've been really good examples of best practices going into this new phase 3. And thank you for following these protocols. They're keeping the community safe as well as keeping people employed. So in addition to the commendation that the Vice Mayor proclaimed, I want to add my thoughts and thank you publicly once again for your efforts to keep us all safe.
Thank you.
I assume that's
Congratulations.
Tim Chiffon behind the mask. Yeah.
There it is.
Put it back.
Join us next weekend, please.
Come to our party.
Okay, so thank you so much, Vice Mayor. We have a second presentation, a second and last presentation tonight, which I would ask Commissioner Moritas, who will declare. We'll just make a declaration regarding Diabetes Awareness Month. Commissioner Moritas.
Thank you, Mayor. And joining us virtually, let's see if we can see her, is Kristen Schroeder Brown, the Program Director of Diabetes Prevention at Holy Cross Health. Do we have her? We have her. Oh, we see her? Okay, I'm sorry. I don't see it right here. All right, welcome. In recognition of National Diabetes Awareness Month, whereas an estimated 34.2 million Americans have diabetes, which is 10% of the US population, and whereas another 88 million people 18 years and older have prediabetes, a condition that puts them at risk for developing type 2 diabetes, and whereas nearly 1 in 5 adolescents in the United States, aged 12 to 18 years, are living with prediabetes, and whereas the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services estimates that the total direct cost of diagnosed diabetes increased from $188 billion in 2012 to $237 billion in 2017, and indirect cost increased from 73 to 90 billion. And whereas if current trends continue, 1 in 3 American adults will have diabetes by 2050. Whereas uncontrolled diabetes puts people at risk for serious medical complications, including cardiovascular disease, blindness, kidney disease, nerve damage, and amputation. Whereas each November, an extra effort is made to highlight the seriousness of diabetes and the importance of prevention and proper disease management. Whereas Diabetes Awareness Month is an opportunity to increase community awareness about diabetes, risk factors and symptoms, reinforce the importance of a healthy lifestyle, and improve the likelihood that people with diabetes will get the attention they need before suffering the devastating complications of this disease. Whereas individuals who take part in a year-long Centers for Disease Control Lifestyle Change program focusing on eating healthy, reducing stress, increasing physical activity can minimize the risk of developing type 2 diabetes by up to 58% and up to 71% for people older than 60. Now, therefore, we as the City Commissioners of the City of Fort Lauderdale do hereby proclaim December 2020 as National Diabetes Awareness Month. Signed, our Honorable Dean J. Trentalis. Kristen, if you're there, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, please. I just would like to thank the Fort Lauderdale City Commission for presenting this proclamation to Holy Cross Health and recognizing November 2020 as Diabetes Awareness Month. So as you mentioned, diabetes is a very chronic condition that is estimating to affect about 34.2 million Americans. And if current trends do continue, 1 in 3 American adults with diabetes or will have diabetes by 2050, which if we look at the current population estimates for 2019 with the city of Fort Lauderdale, that would mean 43,724 adults in 2050 would have potentially type 2 diabetes. So throughout the month of November, we hope to increase the awareness of diabetes and the importance of prevention and proper management of the disease. So thank you all again. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, and thank you, Kristen, for all the good work that you do on behalf of the hospital and the diabetes community. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. So we move on to, that's the end of our presentations, and now we move on to what's called the consent agenda. Now, the consent agenda is a list of agenda items which the commission will be asked to vote upon as a group. And at this point, I would ask any member of the commission if they would like to pull a specific item so that we can talk about it separately and vote on it separately. If you find out that by listening to the commissioners that your item that you're here on tonight has not been pulled and you would like to still talk about it, now would be the time to come forward and ask to be recognized. So before we do that, let me ask each commissioner if they would like any items pulled. Commissioner Moritas.
CR1.
CR1. Vice Mayor.
CM6.
CM6. Commissioner McKenzie.
None.
Commissioner Sorensen.
None.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I have one tonight as well, CM3, please.
Did I ask you?
I usually don't have one, but tonight.
CM3?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So CR1, CM6, and CM3 have all been asked to be pulled. So we'll vote on them separately and we'll have discussion on them separately. And if anyone's here tonight to talk about any of them, and I think some are, yes, we will ask you to come up at that time to make your presentation. In the meantime, is there anyone that would like to speak on an agenda item that has not been pulled and that we will ultimately vote on in a collective group? Anyone?
I'm going to go through the list here real quick, Mr. Mayor, on speakers and just see if there's.
Well, I see where on CM1, Jennifer Swerchek has asked to speak on Jack and Jill Center. That's CM1. CM7, Brian Lilly. CR3, Stephanie Toothaker, but probably only for questions. I mean, you may be here on these items if there's no real reason for you to speak on these items. They're just going to be voted on all at once. Unless you feel a need to talk about it, there's really no need for me to call upon you. So if there is still an item that you'd like to speak on, otherwise the commission is going to vote on these items all at once. Is there anybody that wishes to step forward and speak on any of the unpulled items?
I do not see any hands raised on the virtual attendees.
Any hand raised?
I do not see any.
Okay. So with regard to, except for CR1, CM3, and CM6, do I hear a motion to approve all the consent agenda items?
So moved.
It's been moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Mayor Trentels.
Yes, and so all the consent agenda items are now approved except for CR1, CM3, and CM6. So let's go to, hold on a second. Miss anybody? Well, let's start with CM6, the Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I pulled it because it was a topic of conversation for the last couple of weeks. Everyone is excited about the event, looking forward to the event. But Chris, many of my District 2 residents, especially those on the beach, are concerned about just the lack of communication about how this event is going to play out. They really want to know all of the logistics. It's really hard to read the what's attached on the agendas, the diagrams, and the keys are all very blurry. So maybe if you could just help us understand and then tell me what the city is going to do in terms of educating the public about all of the logistics, how we are going to have a safe event, what is all of the arrangements going to be in terms of parking, socially distancing on the beach, et cetera. Can you take us through that and then also just assure us that all of this information will be communicated soon, hopefully, to the residents and then repeated again and again, because we only have a few short weeks until the November 21 date. Thank you.
Sure. So let me take a stab at starting, and then Brian Lilly has joined us tonight, and I'll turn it over to him, and he can talk as the promoter of the air show about some of their other successful air shows this season that have happened in a COVID world. So this event came to us as a fall event, typically a spring event. With the good fortune of the Air Force electing to extend their season by 1 week, they really wanted to come and fly over Fort Lauderdale, and we're working with the air show to see if we can make that happen. I can tell you that Brian and his group have put on a successful air show in Ocean City. They have an example of what a beach air show looks like. They've done a successful show in New York as well as Orlando last week. They've developed some pretty defined and intense safety things to put into place. Again, this event is one that has to be approved by us as well as reviewed by Broward County with their approval. And to answer your question about messaging, yes, as soon as we exactly know what we're going to message, we will start that messaging campaign. We met at fairly good length this morning to understand a little bit about how this show would be different than a normal air show in that it doesn't feature an aerobatic demo team. So the sky that they fly in is actually a smaller and compressed area than what we would be used to with a normal air show. And because it's coming in the fall, it really doesn't have a big sponsor area or a sponsor component, because it really is just the show that's happening 1 week after the season typically would end. There would be food vendors, et cetera, but not the typical areas that you might see that people would linger and congregate. So let me see if Brian can take it from here. I think you all know Brian. He's the promoter of our air show and has been for years, and he can walk you through a little bit of the safety protocols that they have and that they've implemented in these other shows already this year. Brian, can you join us? There he is.
Yep. Chris, can you hear me?
We sure can.
All right, terrific. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Thanks for the opportunity to discuss this tonight and give you some more fidelity on exactly how we plan to conduct the air show and our successes that we've had this year with our previous air shows in the era of social distancing. So for some time now, we have had back in the spring when this all started, we started very early and worked to develop what we call our Stay Safe and Separate initiatives, which are featured on the top bar of every page of our event website. And we have taken all the different premium viewing venues that we've had in the past and reconcepted them with social distancing and all the aspects that we need to do to conduct the event safely during the COVID era in mind. And so that has been all displayed and made available, and we have been communicating it through our social media channels. We've begun some intense communication over the past week, and also doing it with our email list, our ticket holders, et cetera. We did conduct a beachfront air show this year in the middle of August in Ocean City, Maryland, where we were able to put a lot of this to the test with great success. Even the post-show media reports, there was a lot of reports about the success and how we were able to not only plan for this but to be able to achieve it. So I had submitted, along with my request to speak, a 3-page operations plan that just kind of provides a top-down summary of how we intend to do this with respect to all of our venues. And a lot of that includes, of course, masks, and when you're within 6 feet, you wear a mask. We're limiting the number of people in our premium viewing venues. We have created a new venue called the Sandboxes, which is designed with for people that are at risk, children or families with small children, and those types of people, to be able to enjoy the air show worry-free, right, where they have their own piece of the beach, so to speak. And I included all that in that briefing document that I had submitted with my request to be able to speak tonight. Another aspect that we've added, in addition to that, that successfully debuted in Ocean City, and we just did a second time at our event in Orlando, the Lockheed Martin Space and Air Show, which just occurred this previous weekend. It's called AirDot Show Live Stream, and it's actually a multi-camera sporting event style broadcast of the air show that includes the narration. It includes excerpts of the Air Boss channel, and basically the idea of it is that you don't need to be at Show Center, because we bring Show Center to you. So whether you're enjoying the air show from your backyard, balcony, boat, or the beach, it gives you the opportunity to have an enhanced experience, to see what's going on. Even people at Show Center, it creates a great opportunity, because one of the things we include is a camera down on the flight line that shows the military jets, right, that are down at the airport that no one normally gets to see. So it really creates an engaging experience kind of across the board. So the same way, like if you think of a football game where you have a camera that covers the action, and then you go down to the sidelines and you go up to the booth, we go down to the flight line and we go up to the narrator stand, right? And so it really adds a great aspect to it. And in Ocean City this year, we had in excess of 40,000 people view the live stream, and it really did help a great deal in getting people to spread out, watch from where they're at, right? And it was a great success, and a very successful tool that we kind of added to our toolbox to make this possible in the era of social distancing. Just an air show alone, with our aerial stage being 2 miles wide and 500 feet high, it gives that opportunity to spread out, and it lends itself well to host in this era that we're all in right now. As far as communication, that's a lot of what we communicate, is the opportunity to spread out just how big the viewing area is. We promote the opportunity to be on the live stream. We promote our Stay Safe and Separate initiatives. All of that we put out on our website, and one of the great opportunities on our website and our social media. And there's a great opportunity for the city and event partners and host hotels and everyone to really be able to share that information, right, and relay that, and greatly add to the level of engagement and the level of visibility for that type of information. So something else that we tested and worked very successfully with our show in Ocean City. And I do want to say, as far as the aspects of in our premium viewing areas and being able to social distance in those areas. We just had our event in Orlando at Orlando Sanford International Airport this past weekend, where we had an excess of 12,500 people on the event site each day. And we were able to successfully achieve that goal with a much larger audience than we'll be hosting in the premium viewing areas for the air show at the event site on the beach. So we feel very confident with our 3 shows under our belt, with a beachfront air show under our belt, with all the tools that we've innovated and refined and really gotten very good with this year, that we can put on a very safe and very successful air show for the city of Fort Lauderdale.
Thank you, Brian. I did have a question. Besides the premium viewing areas, how do you control the numbers of folks up and down the sand along the coast in Fort Lauderdale for this event?
Well, I think, we provide some of those tools, like I was talking about the live stream and some of the other aspects of it, but really it's the same guidelines that people use when they go to the beach, on a normal day, when you're outside of our event site, and really working hand in hand with the city, with lifeguards and police, and providing those tools that help form a basis for that. So, it's really like the same guidelines as you would have if you went to the beach on any given day.
Vice Mayor, let me
And Chris, is that,
take that
go ahead.
further. The just like any other special event that's happening, some of that is going to fall on us. Some of that's going to fall on our ability to have park rangers out there and lifeguards and to do what we would do with any of the other special events. And people have gotten pretty good at knowing what the rules are, but no, some of that's outside of the event site would in fact fall upon us to make sure that we've got a good campaign for distance and mask wear and all that good stuff that has become the norm in those areas that aren't part of the event site.
And you feel comfortable, Chris, that we will be able to control that and keep it safe for everyone?
I mean, we'll have to obviously for those couple of days put more people out there. My preference has always been, as you know, to look first to our park rangers, second to parking enforcement specialists for duty assignments like that, so that we don't cause a negative interaction with our police personnel and vacationers or other beachgoers. But yeah, we like I indicated, spent a good bit of planning time this morning talking about it, and I think there's some additional follow up tomorrow. We'll have to match our, we'll have to match our deployment out there to manage the safety in those areas that are not part of the event site.
Okay, good. No, I think it will be definitely an effort, but Brian, I just wish you a tremendously successful show, and help us do what we all need to do to make sure it's enjoyed by all and it's safe for all. So all the best. Thank you.
Chris, is this something where we want to limit the amount of people that come to the beach and like close down our parking garage and stuff like that, or are we not going back to that anymore?
Yeah, I don't know that we would want to open up part of it for a ticketed area and then close a part of it that can be enjoyed by anybody. I think we just have to be mindful of the fact that we might get a larger crowd out there, and we just need to have the right staffing complement in place to we do a lot of reminding, and we do a lot of reminding of distance and mask wearing, and try to be ambassadors out there when we have larger crowds. I think seeing the success that Brian's had in Ocean City and the couple of shows that he's done this year, I think he's well positioned to be able to conduct a safe show in the north part of the beach, and then we're just going to have to north of Sunrise, that is, and then we'll just have to manage those areas that are outside the event area.
All right. Any other questions of Brian? Okay, there being none. Vice Mayor, what would you like to do with the item?
Oh, I'm very happy to move it.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Yes. Ben, did you? Okay. Okay. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Mayor Trentals.
Yes, and the item is approved. CR1. Well, maybe we should go back to CM3. Sorry.
Wanted to say thank you. Look forward to seeing you all in a few weeks.
Good show there, Brian.
Thank you so much, Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Back to CM3, motion terminating lease agreement with Marco Treats, DBA City Park Cafe and Bistro at the Riverwalk Center. Chris?
Yes, Mayor Commission, the reason I asked for this to be pulled is because I'm seeking a little bit of guidance here tonight. This item came forward and it was is a tenant that we've had since 2011 in one of our spaces at the Riverwalk Center, which is the downtown parking garage. It's a restaurant, and they approached us and basically said that COVID had taken their ability to be successful with the quantities that they would need in the restaurant world to stay afloat, and sent a letter. And what's before you tonight is actually asking that you allow them to terminate that lease effective back in March of 2020. So with us being in November, well, what that really does is it abates about $15,000 worth of rent, which would have been paid between that March date and today. And so we have others that have outstanding, that have some outstanding rent. And I'm just trying to get a sense from the commission whether or not, there's 3 or 4 other people that we have outstanding totals on in Fort Lauderdale. And I'm just trying to get a sense as to whether you would like me to try to negotiate to some abatement with them, or if this is different in our minds, because this is one that has simply just closed up shop and seeks not to occupy the space any longer. And that was my reasoning for asking to have the item pulled, just so I could get a little bit of guidance from the commission that if in fact we approve this tonight, does that mean that there's anything I need to be doing different with any of the others that have outstanding balances that occupy buildings from us?
Well, the difference here is that these people are going out of business, correct? Whereas the others are looking for not an abatement, but a forbearance. But they're ultimately going to pay the rent that wasn't collected during the summer months. So
there is that difference that this one tonight is asking just simply to allow that termination to have occurred in March of 2020. Again, they've been a tenant since 2011. They had exercised their final 5-year option, and just don't believe that they can continue to be successful and come back after the COVID interruption.
I would have one question. Do they accept any PPP funds or anything like that? Because the purpose of those funds would be to pay your rent. Do we know that?
So I don't know if we, let me see if I can go to Louisa.
They shut down in March before, or I mean, if they applied for any funding and the intent was to pay for staff and rent, then I don't know.
So Louisa Agatha now is joining us. She manages our real estate with assistance at Colliers. Louisa, the question is, do we know if this business availed themselves to any of the federal options for support during COVID?
Not that I'm aware.
Okay.
And in any event, had they done that, the onus is on them to spend it in the way that's regulated by the federal government. So if they took it and used it for something they were not supposed to, granted, it's something we can consider, but that's not really our fault with the federal government. We really wouldn't have jurisdiction over that.
Right. But I'd probably be more inclined to get our $15,000 if they got something from the feds.
Yeah. The only other point I would add is because we're in a default situation, we've defaulted them and they're vacating. The only other option for us from a legal standpoint would be to pursue them for that 15 or however much it is, which typically ends in a paper judgment. So we'll have a nice piece of paper saying they owe us $15,000, but if they're going out of business and they're leaving, there's a cost to getting that. So that would be our recourse if we don't, which we can do, but it's just one of those that, oftentimes we go look.
Chris, when did they stop? When did they close the door for business?
Again, my name is Brandon Vargas here on behalf of the employees.
go ahead, Commissioner.
I believe March of 2020.
March of 2020.
March of 2020 is what the letter that they sent the city suggests.
So they closed in March, so they probably didn't apply for anything.
And is this 14,000 basically the rent due from March to today?
That's correct.
Okay. I mean, I'm obviously defer to the others as well, but I mean, I'm open to considering this granting due to the closure of the business, the difficulty in receiving payment.
I agree with Commissioner Sorensen also, but when other businesses are approaching us in the future, I would like to see if they still are operating, to make sure that if they applied for funding, that they're using it to pay us for rent.
The other examples that we have of those that have an outstanding balance are continuing to operate at this point.
I need to check into that.
Any other questions? Someone like to move the item?
I'll move it.
Second.
Second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Mayor Trentels.
Yes, and the item
Thank
is
you.
approved. Now to CR1, a resolution revising and consolidating policies for absent city commission and board and committee members to participate in meetings through communications technologies and rescinding resolution 12-84. Commissioner Moritas.
Thank you, Mayor. Alan, I just wanted to get clarification on this. I just want to understand, when does this end, or do we keep voting on it, or what is a state of emergency? The mayor, I guess, can declare a state of emergency, the county can, the state can.
Yeah, what we did in this instance, as you may remember from the beginning of the week, we did a declaration, or the mayor executed a declaration to sort of take care of the gap that we have. Right? Going forward, I mean, obviously the declaration is still in place, but this resolution is one that was originally written back in 2012, and it dealt with when commissioners or board members want to appear or need to appear remotely and participate. And the way it was written, one of the typically you could do that for an extraordinary circumstance. So if you're on vacation, you could do that once a year. If you're sick, things of that sort. But there were limitations. So what we did is we revamped it in these new times. And first, we identified as an extraordinary circumstance this very situation, a state of emergency, a pandemic. Could be a pandemic, could be a massive hurricane where we need to meet. But we can do it virtually, and it's not safe to do it. You know, the building's not available for meeting. So we qualified it to add that as an extraordinary circumstance. And then furthermore, if you recall in that resolution, you did participate remotely in normal times. You couldn't vote on quasi-judicial matters, and you had to have a physical quorum nonetheless. Again, as we've learned through this process, it's not always possible. So we've added the qualifier that in the cases of states of emergency, whether it's declared by the city, the county, or the governor, that we would be the need for a physical quorum, or the need or the ability for you to vote. Well, first, the need for a physical quorum wouldn't be there in the cases of emergency, and then you'd still be able to vote on quasi-judicial matters or hearings that are required by law. So we just tweaked it a bit so that it would essentially take care of the things that we've learned through this pandemic, that there are times we need to do the city's business and we simply need to do it. So but under normal circumstances, if we're not under a state of emergency, it does keep some parameters in place based on previous law. For example, if you're away on vacation and you need to participate, you can, but you're still going to have some of the limitations you had before, where the commission agrees that the absence is, excused, and there's certain things you may not be able to vote on, but at least it takes care of these types of situations.
So this is just a state of emergency. So when we go back to normal after the pandemic, it'll go back to what we were doing. If we miss a meeting, we can participate. We just won't be able to vote.
Right. So we'd follow the circumstances.
Okay.
There. But this will be in place for, like I said, it's not just a pandemic, but
Right.
let's say we get hit with a hurricane or there's another type of emergency where we can't physically meet. This will allow us to do the business that we need to do without necessarily having to be in the building.
Okay. So we don't really know when it'll end. We just keep moving forward. And then we don't need a quorum here on the dais. It could just be the mayor.
Correct, because
Again.
we're in a state of emergency, and even in a situation where the building's not available, we wouldn't necessarily need to have the mayor here either. Obviously, we need to have technology to be able to have the meeting actually, virtually. But so there's a component.
I feel
somewhere.
that the clerk has created this 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 fortress that
We feel pretty safe. So, okay, so while we're under the state of emergency, at least. the
I think
mayor-
we're pretty good. But I did that. I signed that emergency order simply as an accommodation to the other members of the commission who had indicated they're not being fully ready to come back in person. And I think it's important that we still have our meetings and try to get business done. And I appreciate your being here today. It's nice to have you back.
Yes, we missed the rest of you. It's actually
So
quite
so
lovely.
it's come as you are.
All right, so I understand. So this will just go on. We don't know when it'll end, and then we'll go back to normal when it does end, and that'll be normal for our boards.
Right. And then it'll be built in. So if it happens again for whatever reason and we have another
can go
state of
back.
emergency, it'll be there. We won't have to vote on anything. You won't have to change anything. It'll be in place.
All right, thank you.
Is there a
So-
chance, though, that the governor could preempt us and that could cause it to end, correct?
Yes.
Not so much. Well, we
Governor
can
can
always be
preempt
stricter.
us.
So even if the governor came out and said, okay, no more state of emergency, we can declare our own. So we could operate under that. And we also have built in the ability to work under the counties. Now, our ordinance, which deals with states of emergencies, has two components. One, we can travel under the governor's state of emergency, which is what we're doing now, or we can do our own.
But to answer the city manager's question, if the governor preempts us from entering into our own state of emergency, then we can't.
I do not believe he can do that because under chapter 252, we are allowed to do that. So he cannot.
Stop getting technical with this.
Well, no, he can't override the legislature in that sense. So
Okay.
he can't. We have a statutory right to declare a state of emergency, and we do have home rule powers still. Debatable, right? But we still have home rule powers. We have police powers to protect the health and wellness of our citizens that the governor can't necessarily take away.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Would you like to move the
Move
item?
yes. So moved.
Second.
It's moved and seconded.
A
Please
re-
call the roll.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, revising and consolidating policies for absent city commission and board and committee members to participate in meetings through communications technology. Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and the resolution's approved. Moving on to neighborhood presentations, Dr. Nova Lishan Savarino he is here.
Yes, I'm here.
Mr. Mayor, can I
Oh, there you
interrupt
are.
real quick before that the neighbor presentation starts? I think we need to get a vote on the balance of the consent agenda.
On the what?
A balance of the consent agenda? They did.
We already did.
Okay. I guess we both missed it over here on this right side of the room. All right. Sorry for that.
Yes, out of
He
sorts.
moved so swiftly that it went right by
That's what
you.
we're doing.
Plexiglass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, neither Alan or I heard it. Okay. So we'll check back
Um,
into the meeting now. And
Okay,
go
well,
on.
just so that you know, they approved them all.
They did. Okay.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Doctor, good evening.
Yes, hi. Before we go ahead and we get started with the timer, would it be possible to put up the PowerPoint presentation I submitted? Or I could share my screen. I actually have it, so I could advance
You
slides.
Oh, we do have it. Can you please see if you can?
Okay. Am I able to advance slides, or do I need to ask?
Do you need to ask? Do you need to be asked to advance the slides?
They'll advance if you ask them to prompt them to move it forward, correct?
Can you
guys?
move? Can you take the icons off the screen? Oh, okay. It's on this one, but it's not. Okay. Okay. So you have 3 minutes. Give us your best.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much for allowing me to present this evening. I probably won't be able to cover everything in the next 3 minutes, but I am going to do my best. In the agenda note I provided, there are testimonials about fireworks being a major issue. This is just but a sampling of a few quotes from some people in my neighborhood. There are more voices not represented in this presentation, but they do feel the same way. So what's going on? In April 2020, Governor DeSantis signed an executive order that made fireworks legal for citizens to use on specific holidays. People can buy fireworks if they agree they'll use it for agricultural purposes. Most people don't buy fireworks to scare birds away in the city of Fort Lauderdale. So it appears people in the masses are committing fraud, no questions asked. Next slide, please. People might say, what's the problem? Aren't we all just celebrating and enjoying the holiday? I believe it's wrong when someone violates someone else's rights. In this case, the right to peace, quiet, and tranquility in their own home. People fear that their property, like cars and houses, will be damaged. This actually happened to my neighbors, even my own family, when a neighbor's firework actually burned a hole in our roof. People fear that wildlife will be harmed. This happened to my neighborhood when people were launching fireworks into canals. And we really worry about the protected species and fern forest down the road from my house. People fear the loud noises, physical vibrations, and safety for themselves, their family members, and pets. This is the case for myself and for many others. Even a little boy in my neighborhood got shot by a gun this year due to the outrageous, unchecked celebrations of the 4th of July holiday. We have Go Green initiatives, so why the night of and then the next morning of every major holiday am I unable to breathe or see down the street due to all the smoke in the environment? Several testimonials I provided involve elderly and disabled people and innocent animals. How and why are we allowing this? They should feel safe and comfortable in their own homes, not be trapped and terrorized for weeks before, during, and after every major holiday. We need to do a better job to protect our most vulnerable population. My disabled mother, elderly grandmother, infant son, and rescue dog deserve better. Slide number 4, please. We need new laws to protect our people and community. We need to take immediate action given the holidays are right around the corner, and in short term, be able to create new enforceable laws. We should have no tolerance like Marco Island in Massachusetts. Next slide, please. We are stronger together and we can solve the problem together. I need your support and the support of our law enforcement. I really love going to the beach and looking at all the festivities and fireworks that the city of Fort Lauderdale put on during holidays. But then when fireworks became a problem in my neighborhood, I couldn't go anymore because instead I had to stay home to monitor my property for damages and my frightened family members. There could still be traditional firework displays for citizens, just in non-designated areas that are residential, like the beach, and during specific times like 8 to 10. They just shouldn't be allowed in residential neighborhoods and your nature preserves. Next slide, please. Therefore, I just respectfully request consideration for a motion to be made to do an emergency order to ban all fireworks and to really work on some enforceable laws and ordinances banning the fireworks to make it illegal to buy, sell, possess, transport, or use fireworks. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or would like to discuss the issue further. And again, I thank you all so very much for your time this evening and consideration to work on resolving the issue.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions? We appreciate you coming here tonight, and we'll definitely give it further consideration.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Moving on to R1, appointment of board and committee members. Mr. Clerk, I'd like to read the names into the record.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, for the November 17th, 2020 meeting for consensus nominations for Citizen Committee of Recognition, Ina Lee has been nominated by Commissioner Sorensen. For the Citizens Police Review Board, another consensus nomination, Paul Eichner, nominated by Commissioner Sorensen. For the Downtown Development Authority, Charlie Ladd, nominated by Commissioner Sorensen, and another few consensus nominations by Commissioner Sorensen for the Police and Firefighters Retirement System Board of Trustees, Jim Noggle and Dennis Hull. And then one individual nomination, Commissioner McKenzie for the Budget Advisory Board, Abby Demi Oladipo. For tonight's resolution, Community Services Board, Pamela Akins, nominated by Commissioner McKenzie. Education Advisory Board, Jean-Jacques Radner, nominated by Commissioner Sorensen. And Northwest Progressive Flagler Heights Redevelopment Board, Lorraine Mizell, nominated by Commissioner McKenzie, and that is a reinstatement. So we just need that
Statement
introduced.
because of absenteeism?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, anyone have any other names they'd like to propose tonight? Not hearing any. Would someone like to introduce the resolution?
Introduced.
A resolution, the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, appointing or nominating if applicable board and committee members as set forth in the exhibit attached here to and made a part hereof. Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Mayor Trentals.
Yes, and those board appointments and committee members are now confirmed by the commission. Thank you to all those who agreed to commit their time and their energies to this. We really need your help and input, and we thank you for your service to the city. R2 is a quasi judicial resolution approving a height bonus for a site plan level 2 development permit in the Northwest Rack. This is the Hotel d'Arts Impact Investments 1 LLC. We have a couple people who have signed up to speak, but I think it's only for questions. Anyone have any questions regarding this? Okay, so anyone wishing to speak must be sworn in. The commission will announce any site visits, communications, or expert opinions received and make them a part of the record. Any disclosures, Commissioner Moritas?
Yes, two. March 21st, Robert Lockery. September 29th, Robert Lockery.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you. September 30th, 2020, Robert Lockery.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Robert Lockwood.
And Commissioner Sorensen.
Same, Robert Lockery.
Okay. I did a site visit, and I also did communicate with the representative. I believe it was Mr. Lockery. Okay. Anyone have any questions regarding this? If not, would someone like to introduce the resolution?
Introduced.
The resolution has been introduced. Would you like to call the roll?
And Commissioner, that's introducing the resolution to approve.
Approve the height
Correct.
bonus, yes.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, approving a height bonus for a site plan level 2 development known as Hotel d'Arts pursuant to section 47-13.52.b of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida Unified Land Development Regulations located at 301 Northwest 7th Avenue, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, in the Northwest Regional Activity Center Mixed Use Zoning District. Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glass.
Vice Mayor Glassman. Vice Mayor Glassman.
I said yes.
Well, we couldn't hear you.
I said yes.
Okay.
Okay, said it several times, no problem.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Mayor Trentals.
Yes. Whose phone is that?
Nobody's calling me. Someone's very popular.
Sounds like Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
Okay. So the resolution is approved. Thank you all. Looking forward to this building being built and help improve that particular avenue. That's the Avenue of the Arts, right? Yeah. So we're moving on to public hearing 1. This is a resolution granting a waiver of limitations of the beach boating restricted area ordinance by approving the operation of a motorized watercraft concession by Atlantic Beach Clubs 2, Inc. through the boating restricted area. No one set up to speak. Does anyone have any questions regarding this? There being none, someone like to introduce the resolution? Hello? Introduced by Commissioner Sorensen.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, granting Atlantic Beach Clubs 2, Inc., a Florida corporation pursuant to Chapter 8, Article 5, Division 3 of the City Code of Ordinances, a waiver for Atlantic Beach to operate a motorized watercraft concession on the public beach as defined in City Code Sections 8-52 and 8-71 upon certain terms and conditions, providing for severability, repealing any and all resolutions or parts thereof in conflict, herewith and providing for an effective date. Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Vice Mayor
Yes.
Glassman,
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
yes, and the item is approved. Perhaps, Vice Mayor, you can hold one lantern for yes and two lanterns for no. Okay, like they did in the Old North Church belfry.
Which finger should I use, Mayor?
Okay,
Okay, fine.
moving on to PH2. This is regarding the Publix on A1A. This is a quasi judicial ordinance approving a rezoning from a residential multifamily high-rise, high-density district to community business district through the allocation of commercial flexibility and associated site plan approval for 28,795 square foot supermarket. This is Presti Corporation, Royal Quality Homes LLC, and Ocean Reef Investments LLC. Anyone wishing to speak must be sworn in. Commission will announce any site visits, communications, or expert opinions received and make them a part of the record. Commissioner Moritas.
Yes. June 3rd, Heidi Davis and Randy. Oh, I don't know the last name, the developer. And then November 2nd, again, Heidi and Randy. And then I don't know if this is an expert witness, but November 2nd, PRI Racy, the president of the Gulf Ocean Mile.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
Yeah. Can you hear me, Mayor? I haven't been muted, but can you hear me okay?
We can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. I met with Heidi on June 6th, 2019, and again on November 4th, 2020, and many meetings of the Central Beach Alliance as this project made its way through. I attended all of those meetings with the Neighborhood Association for probably the last year and a half.
Did you meet with the folks at the Tides?
No, I did not actually, but they were part of the Central Beach Alliance membership meetings, though. I'm sure you did.
You'll hear when I make my disclosures.
Good. That's it for me.
Okay. Commissioner McKenzie. Commissioner McKenzie, any disclosures?
The developer and Heidi. I'm sorry about that.
Okay. The developer and whom? And Heidi?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And Commissioner Sorensen.
Thank you. Randy and Heidi, November 2nd.
Okay. I had multiple site visits, and I did meet with Heidi and her client, Randy. And now I have people who have signed up to speak, but they're all on behalf of the developer. They're only for questions and a presentation. Does anyone have any specific questions that they want to ask the developer tonight? No one else?
Mayor, I have some questions of Raj, actually.
All right, but do you have any questions of any of the people that are connected to the project?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Is
Go ahead,
Raj
Vice.
there?
Raj is here.
Okay, thank you.
He was here. Wait a minute. He was here.
He was here. Let's
He's virtual.
He got out while he still could.
let me look here, Vice Mayor, just real quick to see who we have representing.
You
Public
have a
Works.
LoJack on here?
Probably in the building. Give us just a second, Vice Mayor. Let me see.
Okay, thank you.
I'm looking across the people that have called in. Dr. Gassman, do you, looking for Public Works names, do you know where Mr. Verma is?
No, Chris, I don't know where he is.
Is there anybody else in that department that we can ask?
While we're waiting, I just want to say, Heidi and Randy, I've received a lot of compliments from the GALT about this project. They're very excited about it. Very excited. A lot of people can walk over there. And thank you for bringing this to the east side of Fort Lauderdale.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the director will be joining us here virtually momentarily. Just let him call in, and we'll get with your questions, Vice Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor, I know we did this in the afternoon, but I just want to congratulate you and Vice Mayor and Wins and the whole commission for being back together again for another 4 years.
4 years, 4 more years.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And yeah, you're welcome, Vice Mayor. And Mayor and Chris, this, we don't have to talk about this now, but the I don't know what we call it, swearing in or.
I was going to talk about it this afternoon, but there were other
Yeah.
things we talked about as we were running late. But maybe at our next meeting, we can talk about how we're going to do the swearing in and
right.
What
and dates. I don't know if a date.
It's the first. I think is a specific date, isn't there?
First meeting in January. I don't have
the first meeting in January, and how much pomp and circumstance we want, or do we just want to do a pro forma or something in between?
Right.
Okay, we have
Thanks.
Ms. Burma with us now. Raj, you there?
Yes, Chris.
Great. Okay, Vice Mayor, you've got some questions for the Public Works Director.
Yes. Why is everybody laughing? I'm missing that. Oh, Raj, you're in the witness protection program. Get out of there.
There's no law against. There's a law against texting and driving, but not zooming and driving.
No. Okay. Can you see me any better, sir?
Is that really Raj? Is that really Raj? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Sir.
Thank you, Raj. Okay, so this is going to be an interesting change to this part of the district and the neighborhood. We've got the 3030 condos on the corner of Oakland and A1A. Then we have the Homewood Suites, and then directly across the street, south, we'll have the Publix. So we know that we've had lots of issues in terms of infrastructure. Raj, for the record, I just want you to make sure everyone understands and very clearly what infrastructure needs and wants and are happening from the city, what's happening from the Publix, and what's happening from Homewood Suites. How are the three entities working to make sure that all of the water, stormwater, and sewer issues are dealt with, capacity issues are dealt with, and that we're making sure that we're adding a lot to that corner and that block. I just want to make sure that everyone is very clear which entity is taking care of what. Also, Raj, after that, I want you to be able to address another need, and this is a very big need. We're going to be adding a lot of traffic with those three projects. I hear a lot of clamoring from both the Lauderdale Beach Homeowners Association on the east side of A1A and 30th, and the Dolphin Isles Association on the west side of A1A and 30th about left turn signals at that light at 30th and A1A, so that people heading south on A1A can make a left-hand turn into Lauderdale Beach Homeowners, and people heading north on A1A can make a left-hand turn into Dolphin Isles. Now, I believe that the masthead on that light, I believe that that's there already. I believe there's a signal there, but there is no left-hand turn signal, but I believe that the infrastructure on that mast is there. So I want us to be able to make sure that we're all working together, all of the entities, to do what we need to do with FDOT as they control that road. So if you could just address that infrastructure issue, and then how we can make sure that we are aggressively pursuing those left-hand turn signals, because this is going to be a whole new block when these three projects are all up and running. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Vice Mayor, thank you. And I'm sorry, I just left, so I cannot be in person. But let me just start first with what I know about Publix and the Homewood Suites. They will be using the existing water and wastewater infrastructure. The pipes, the sewer pipe or the wastewater pipe, that has sufficient capacity. There are no issues with the condition, the pipe condition. It is lined, and there is a very small section on the south side, which is the public side, that either Publix is going to fix at their cost, or they are going to join forces with Homewood Suites. And both parties have agreed that that is a minor thing that they can address jointly. So as far as those two entities are concerned, the infrastructure that they are going to be using for water and wastewater is sufficient, and there is no known condition based on our investigation that the staff has done independently, and what the engineers have analyzed, that there are no issues, again, related to the capacity or the condition of the pipe. Once you go past once you are at the intersection of 32nd, 33rd Avenue and 30th Street, then things they start changing, and that is why we have a budget amendment that you approved previously that involves spending about $375,000 to do the full assessment of the existing infrastructure within the Dolphin Isles. So we are going to start. So let me start from the north end and take one issue at a time. I'm going to start with the under the bridge and 32nd and 33rd Avenue. DOT recently raised the height of their seawall, and so far we have seen that there is no significant overtopping, except that this year we did have our king tide that increased the elevation. So the any spillover from the top of the seawall is not an issue. However, there is an issue that is regarding the seepage. And for that, we are coordinating with FDOT. We would have theoretically gone there and did it ourselves. But because the seawall belongs to FDOT, we have to make sure that FDOT is on board and they are going to do their part. We are also coordinating with FDOT to put some tidal valves to make sure that there is no backflow that predominantly floods 32nd and 33rd Avenue around the Tides condominium. Again, we are going to approach the FDOT. If they do not do that, then they need to give us the permission to go and fix it. So that addresses the issue related to FDOT. Then we are looking at putting water drainage well that is going to take care of any water, any runoff that we get from the rain events. So that takes care of both the regular rain event and also the seepage issue and the tidal flooding. As we move southward, then what I referenced earlier is $375,000 to make the assessment of all the gravity pipes that are there. We only have the gravity pipes all the way up to B14. And then we also have the manholes. Some of them, they have been found to be leaking, and some of those water valves are also, they need to be replaced. So all that extensive study is going to evaluate, assess all the infrastructure related to both the water system and the wastewater system. And based on the outcome, we are going to make sure that they are rehabbed after the completion of that assessment. And that is going to be a new capital improvement project that you will see in the budget. I'm hoping if we are able to finish the assessment within next 6 or 8 months, we might be able to add that project in next year's CIP. As we move southward towards B14 itself, we have found that as far as the lifts, the pump station is concerned, it is operating fairly well. In fact, it is operating according to what it is designed for. The only time the staff has to report is when there is excessive rain, and that is tied to the infiltration that could potentially be coming from the pipe assessment that we are going to be making along 33rd Avenue. And that is going to be a part of the study. So hopefully with that rehab, the system all the way up to B14 lift station is going to be resolved. Further downstream of B14 is the force main, and that force main was determined to be has the possibility or has got a medium to high risk of failure. Now, we got this report from Hazen, and that report was submitted to DEP way back in June. And by the time the budget was already in place. So what we have done is that based on that particular report, we have moved the priority of B14 lift station, or rather the force main downstream from B14, and we are going to do a design build, and you have approved that particular budget amendment today as well. So hopefully with all those things, they are going to happen in conjunction. They should be relatively close to each other. So we have essentially addressed the issues in a comprehensive manner. And once all that work is done, then around the Tides area, both 32nd Avenue and 33rd Avenue, they are going to get resurfaced. So you are going to have the issues related to the flooding due to tide, the flooding due to excessive rain event, and stormwater well injection, rehab of the pipes, construction of the force main. They are all going to be now a part of that project and the package that you have approved the funding for. So, Mr. Vice Mayor, this is the sum total. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Now, excuse me, I'm sorry that, you said also something about the traffic. And I'm sure that, what you have raised is a very valid point in terms of the left turn signal. And that left turn signal is essentially because it's a DOT road, we have to coordinate with FDOT. I have a feeling that based on the level of service that I have seen for that road, the percentage of the left turn coming out of both the development, when I say development, both Publix and Homewood Suites, they should be able to justify a left turn signal. Now, normally they have to meet some very stringent guidelines in terms of the volume, the turning volume, the through volume, the peak hours, and all those conditions. So we are going to work very closely with FDOT and Broward County to see if we did make that happen. And I'm sure that both Homewood Suite and Publix, they have a vested interest as well, because they want to make sure that their clientele, they would be. So we will continue to coordinate with FDOT. We have sent out some preliminary request for the information that we are going to need to pursue this traffic adjustment further. So
Okay,
that
Raj, we have Ben Rogers here who might also want to add to that. Ben, did you have any additional comments to make with regard to the traffic aspects of this?
Yes, thanks, Mayor. Ben Rogers, Transportation Mobility. So Vice Mayor, to that intersection that you asked about on 30th and South Ocean, the southbound lane does currently have a turn lane, left turn lane on it. However, it's set up as a passive turn, which means it doesn't have a dedicated signal. As part of the traffic impact study, they reviewed this, and it did not meet the warrant to have a protected turn lane, but it does have a permissive turn lane. For the northbound lane, that also has a left turn lane that is a protected, having a dedicated turn signal. So for the northbound, I think that condition is satisfied that you were concerned about. For the southbound, what we can do is we can wait until the build out year and then work with FDOT to perform another study to see if the new volumes warrant a protected turn lane.
Are your questions answered?
And I don't think there is actually a turn. I don't think there is a turn signal, Ben, heading north on A1A, a left-hand turn signal into Dolphin Isles, is there? I mean, yeah, Dolphin Isles, is there?
I believe so. I believe so. At 30th, there's a left turn lane with a signal.
There's a lane. Okay.
I may be, Ben, I'm not 100% sure. I think Vice Mayor is right that they do have the lane, but they don't have the protected left turn signal. And that is probably what he's referring to. I'll double check tomorrow, but I think Vice Mayor is correct that the lane is there, but the signal is not there. So let's work offline and see how we can coordinate with FDOT.
Yes, and there's definitely no left-hand turn signal heading south into Lauderdale Beach Homeowners Association. What I'm trying to do is I want to avoid us always being reactive. For instance, the federal highway issue with the left-hand turn into the Trader Joe's. It's a nightmare and we shouldn't be worrying about it now. There'll be an accident there. Chick-fil-A on Federal Highway, heading towards Chick-fil-A, if you go past the Walgreens there on 26 on Federal, it's a nightmare. The car's back all the way out, a whole block out on that right-hand lane. We need to just be proactive because we know this is going to happen. Once the people move into 3030, the condo on Oakland and A1A, everyone is going to use 30th and A1A to make a U-turn for the folks that are coming basically south on A1A. The only way they're going to get to their condo on the other side of A1A, on the east side, is by making that U-turn. So I'm just trying to avoid a nightmare and be proactive about that and get that done. So you also mentioned some partnerships, Raj, between Homewood Suites and Publix, and you said some minor infrastructure work. I want to hear that Publix is good with that. And I also want to hear that Publix is able to assist us with those turn signals. So if we could, hear that, I would feel really comfortable. And I will tell you, there is a lot of excitement about this project. People are very, very happy about it and really looking forward to it. I just want to make sure that we are very comfortable knowing what we're doing with regards to infrastructure and that signal. So thank you. Heidi, can you help us, or Randy, with regards to what you heard from Raj about public
traffic?
Yes.
Sure. This is Heidi Davis from Gunster. Thank you for allowing us to be here this evening. I haven't been sworn. I don't know if we need to be sworn or anything like that, but I do want to.
Why don't you raise your right hand? Jeff?
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Thank you.
And
also congratulations to the mayor and vice mayor on their re-elections.
Thank you.
So, Vice Mayor, I just wanted to answer your questions. So, Publix, with regard to the water and sewer, we worked with Anthony Fajardo and with Raj on the water and wastewater capacity issue. While Publix doesn't contribute a lot of water and wastewater, we are willing to work with the city on trying to resolve some of these issues. Publix has offered to contribute $5,000 towards whatever fund they are producing at the city to contribute and to help with that funding and the lining or whatever they need to do to fix those issues. With regard to the signalization, Publix is also willing to contribute up to $10,000 to help on that intersection on those left turn lanes. As you said, there is the infrastructure there, the mast arms are there. Driving northbound, there is that left turn lane to make that left turn onto 30th Street towards Dolphin Isles. There are 4 light bulbs on the signal head but the left turn signal is not working, or it doesn't produce a left turn signal there. But I think that with FDOT's help and working with the FTOT, we can try and get that to go the way that the neighbors want. Going southbound into Lauderdale Beach Homeowners Association, that turn, and as Vice Mayor said, with regard to the U-turn, Publix doesn't produce any of those trips, but like I said, we'll be willing to contribute up to $10,000 towards the signalization at that intersection.
Okay, thank you, Heidi. Raj, does that jive with what you thought the understanding was also with regards to the sharing with Homewood Suites of that, what you called a minor infrastructure issue between the two?
Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor, my last conversation with their engineers was that because it deals with the safety, they will be helping, and they will be willing to contribute up to that amount as well. So you are looking at $15,000 from Publix and $15,000 from Homewood Suites. So because the advantage that we have is most of the expense for the traffic signal comes from the mast arm. So you have the entire infrastructure, you have the left lanes, and all we need to do is make sure that the traffic studies, they justify having the left turn signal, and we can make the modification to the signal heads that are out there.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure everyone was on the same page so that it was all clear. Thank you very much, everybody, for that. And Raj, I look forward to all of those issues being addressed so that we can make this a very, not just an exciting project for the neighborhood, but we also know that we're taking care of all of these infrastructure, and we're moving aggressively with FDOT for that signalization on A1A and 30th. So thank you, everybody, and good luck. And I can't wait for this project to break ground and have a Publix right there on that corner. It's going to be terrific. Thank you.
All right, Vice Mayor, there's one thing that you didn't ask, though, and that is making that left-hand turn. Is there a sufficient stacking lane in case, like you just mentioned, Trader Joe's and Chick-fil-A, it's really the stacking lane that is inadequate. Is there a stacking lane here to make that turn?
There is. I just don't remember how many cars actually in that lane, but there is actually that left-hand extra lane there heading, if you're heading north on A1A and want to make a left into Dolphin Isles on A1A and 30th. Right. I'm not sure how many cars.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, could I interject something? We have Carl Peterson, our traffic engineer, that is for Publix, that is on the call this evening. If he could interject, he might know the stacking capacity.
Who is that?
That was Randy Holohan, the developer.
Oh, Randy, I know that was you, but who were you suggesting that we speak to?
Carl Peterson is on this call.
Carl. Is he on the line?
Go ahead, Carl. Yes, he just unmuted himself.
I'm here. Good evening, everyone. Carl Peterson, traffic engineer on the project. I have not been sworn in.
Please raise your right hand.
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So yes, let me elaborate just a little bit. I'll be as brief as possible to answer the initial question that brought me into the discussion here. The northbound and southbound left turn lane storage capacities at the intersection of A1A and 30th is approximately 100 feet. Now there's also about 75 feet of taper there, but 100 feet of full width storage, which would generally accommodate probably between 4 and 5 vehicles per cycle at any given time at that intersection. In terms of the adequacy of that storage lane in both directions, our analysis indicates that the storage capacity is adequate to satisfy that future demand looking forward to when the Publix is completed. Concerning the signalization, it is correct. Southbound, there is a green ball which means that the left turns are what we refer to as permissive. You have to wait for oncoming traffic to provide an adequate gap in order to turn left to go to the east on 30th. In the northbound direction, I know there's been a little bit of confusion on that, but the installation at that intersection, there is a left turn arrow, and I'm looking at the traffic signal timing plans obtained from Broward County, and there is a left turn phase. Now, if the left turn arrow isn't working, then we need to make sure that Broward County is aware of that. Maybe it's just a maintenance issue. But according to their signal timing plans, there should be a left turn arrow, which means you would get a protected movement to go west on 30th. So if you have any other questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Okay, is there any further questions?
The only thing I just wanted to elaborate, and by the way, that's interesting that there is that signal, because I don't think that's been working for 10 years. But that's a great, that'll be a
light bulb.
Yeah, I think, but if we can check that out, Raj, that'd be great.
Yes, sir, we will do that. Yeah, we will do that. We should have that information for you by next week. I'll contact I'll contact Broward County Traffic Engineering folks and just confirm from all legs what we have and what is going to be needed, and work towards finding a solution with FDOT.
Oh, that'd be great. If it's just a light bulb, maybe we can incorporate it with our December 1 light up for Lauderdale. When we do that, we can just light up that left-hand turn signal. That would be great. The difference on this storage lane, Mayor, though, from like what you just mentioned with the Trader Joe's, is there's no signal there at all. At least here there is a signal at that intersection. There's nothing at the Trader Joe's, so that just backs up forever. But I think with a turning signal, a dedicated turning signal here, that will keep that traffic flowing in that left lane. So we won't have that backup like you have on Federal about the Trader Joe's. But thank you, Carl. I just think that we can do all of these things and we'll be fine. And again, congratulations on the project.
Mr. Vice Mayor, can I just add one more thing related to the traffic issue? The way the northwest corner where Homewood Suite is going to go, that used to be an old gas station, and they had the access from A1A. So a typical gas station entrance right at the corner. And that particular traffic pattern made that whole intersection very unsafe. So what has happened is, as a part of the plan review, that they have closed that access on A1A, and they have moved their access further west on the 30th. So combine that with what Publix has done, the situation traffic-wise has become as safe as it possibly could be. The only thing that we now need to add, if we are able to make sure that the left turns are provided with the help from FDOT, it would probably make a very safe intersection.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you, Raj.
Yes, sir.
Questions? I have a couple of people in the interim who have signed up to speak. Mr. Bill Brown from the CBA. Bill, are you there? Is Bill Brown there? Bill?
He's there. I saw him on the attendee list. Let's see if we can recognize him. And unless you've moved him over to a panelist.
Can you hear me, Mayor?
I can hear you.
Good evening, Mayor. First of all, congratulations, Mayor, Vice Mayor, on your reelection, and also the other city commissioners on behalf of the CBA.
Thank you.
Board, we look forward to working with you for the next 4 years and the great relationship we have. Just in the interest of time, I'll be very brief. Ms. Davis has brought this not only to the CBA board, but to 2 membership meetings. We held a joint public participation meeting. We've had over the past year a tremendous amount of input. She is, and her design team and Publix are to be commended on having working so well with the community and the civic associations and adjoining neighborhood associations, both the Dolphin Isles and the Lauderdale Beach Homeowners Association. We are strongly in support of this project. At our July 9th meeting, there was a large attendance of people, both from the surrounding condo projects, the Berkeley South, the Vantage View, the Tides. The vote was 135 people in support of the project and only 7 that voted no, based on some of the concerns that were addressed, as we just previously talked about on the traffic issues. So I'll entertain any questions. And also I've not been sworn in, but I raised my right hand under oath. So everything I just stated, I testified to, and we look forward to being a good neighbor and having Publix in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Well, let's just do this retroactively. Would you please raise your right hand?
I raised my right hand, sir.
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So you ratify everything that you just said under oath?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Unless you want me to take back about the congratulations on your reelection.
I assume you meant that.
I did.
I take your word for it. Mr. Paul Chettle, are you still there? Paul, are you there? You see him?
I'm looking now. I do not see him by name in the attendee list. And I do not see him by name on the panelist list.
Paul, if you're there, make some noise. Okay, we can come back to him if he materializes. Okay, any further questions? Okay, do I hear a motion to close public hearing?
Moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes, and Mayor.
Yes, sir.
It sounds like Paul Chettle wants to speak, but it won't let him, he's saying.
This is Mr. Chettle?
Yes, sir.
For some reason, he's not coming up on the screen. Is he calling in by phone?
He's calling in by phone. If we could just get the last 4 numbers of the phone, I don't know how. Or
what are his last 4 numbers?
So we've got 223.
He says he's 917 is probably the suffix.
917. That's that third number down. Go ahead and recognize that third number down. All right, it's been recognized. He just needs to unmute.
All right, but okay, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Mr. Lagerbloom, and thank you, Mr. Sorensen, or Commissioner Sorensen. Good evening, Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Mr. Mayor, I haven't been sworn in. I raise my right hand.
Yes, please raise your right hand.
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, please proceed.
Good evening, Mayor. I'd like to thank you. I don't always call and thank you. I offer constructive criticism, but I'd like to thank you because this process on this project has been far superior to the Homewood Suite. Obviously, you remember the disastrous meeting in August with 110 speakers. I would like to thank you, number one, for recognizing what the public is telling you in August about the funding. And I'd like to thank you for the consolidated budget amendment this evening to move the money. The projects had previously been unfunded or defunded. Now there's funding. I'd like to thank you for initiating the closed circuit TV to analyze the infrastructure, which was previously funded, which is now funded again. So thank you. I'd like to thank Public Works for the street-by-street analysis and the pipe-by-pipe analysis and the analysis of the immediate infrastructure impact in this project, which also impacts the project directly across the street. In addition to that, I think it should be pretty clear that when you care about infrastructure, the process from 4 years ago about just getting a water and sewer capacity letter is by no means sufficient. And we all know that you have full-time, part-time jobs and that you don't have time. So, for example, the Infrastructure Task Force meeting was presented with the asset management report. That's an 803-page report. I bet you don't have time to read an 803-page report. But there are a multitude of reports that the city now has and the city has provided to the state that provides you with detailed up-to-date information on infrastructure, and that's being incorporated through the DRC, P&Z, and City Commission process so that you can make an informed decision, so that you don't land up like in August where the public is telling you stuff that you don't know and it doesn't go well. This project here went very well, and you should be commended for it. And everybody worked together, and it worked out well. So I just want to thank you. It's an unusual thing for me to do, but this is a far superior process than the one for Homewood Suites with regard to funding and infrastructure. So thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you. We will mark this date in history. So
You should.
thank you so much. Okay, is there anybody else who signed up to speak? I don't see anybody else. Let us proceed on the vote to close public hearing.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and public hearing is now closed. Would someone like to introduce the ordinance?
Introduced.
Introduced.
An ordinance amending section 47-1.6.b of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Unified Land Development Regulations for the revision of the official zoning map of the City of Fort Lauderdale and Schedule A revised compilation attached thereto and by reference made a part thereof, so as to rezone from RMH 60 residential multifamily high-rise high-density district to CB Community Business District through the allocation of the commercial flexibility of all of Lot 90, Block 1, Lauderdale Beach, according to the plat thereof recorded in Plat Book 4, page 2 of the Public Records of Broward County, Florida, together with all of Lot 2, Block 23, Fort Lauderdale Beach, its extension according to the plat thereof recorded in Plat Book 29, page 22 of the Public Records of Broward County, Florida, located west of North Ocean Boulevard, north of Northeast 27th Street, east of Northeast 33rd Avenue, and south of Northeast 30th Street, all said lands being in the City of Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida. Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and the ordinance is now approved. Good luck with it. When do you think you'll have construction completed and we'll be doing a ribbon cutting?
Thank you so much, everybody. So we have, obviously in 2 weeks, we come back for a second reading, and then we go right to starting our permits. So we have our development team here. We're hoping that we can expedite some of these permits to get it going. Last I heard, we were talking about groundbreaking. Randy, groundbreaking, not actually opening. Do you have a estimate?
I do. Hold on one second. Or no.
He's got to get his schedule out.
Yeah, I do. I don't have a groundbreaking. We have a completion at the end of 22.
The end of 22. Okay.
Yes,
That's
sir.
the completion.
Yes.
And that on that other matter that we had discussed in our meeting, if you could set up a time for us to get together on that, I'd appreciate that.
Yes, sir. I'm working on it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your help and your cooperation.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you. PH3, public hearing, quasi judicial ordinance approving a public purpose use for a temporary fire station and a surface parking lot in the Central Beach Regional Activity Center, 735 North North Fort Lauderdale Beach Boulevard. Anyone wishing to speak must be sworn in. Commission will announce any site visits, communications, or expert opinions received and make them a part of the record. We have one person who's looking to speak, Bill Brown again. I don't think I spoke to, did you speak to anybody on this?
No, just staff.
Commissioner, Vice Mayor, do you have any disclosures? You got to unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself.
Okay. Let's see if I had any new ones. Nope.
Do that again.
Nope.
Commissioner McKenzie? Commissioner McKenzie? Have to unmute yourself. You have to unmute yourself, Commissioner McKenzie.
None.
None. Commissioner Sorensen?
None, thank you.
Okay. I honestly don't remember having a discussion with anybody on this myself, but no. Okay. Mr. Bill Brown has asked to speak on this. He's already been sworn in. Mr. Brown, are you there?
I'm looking for him again. It was in as William Brown before, but I do not see him on the panelist list, but he's on the attendee list. You can recognize him there, please. Okay, Mr. Brown, you are recognized.
Can you hear me now, Mayor?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Bill Brown, President CBA. This particular site plan came before the Central Beach Alliance on August the 6th. We also held a public participation meeting along with Cravens and Thompson, the engineering firm, along with city staff and representatives from the Fire and EMS division. The project was received very well. We are in support of it. It was a vote taken of 88 in support, 15 against. The 15 against, let me just briefly explain, was reference to concerns over traffic, possible backups at A1A and Vistamar, and the egress and ingress on coming in and off of Vistamar. Since that meeting, city staff went back, worked with Transportation Mobility to address some of those medians that are inside, along with the parking meters on Vistamar. And there, I think in your documentation, you'll see that there's been some agreement to move some of those medians and parking meters. As of even as late today, I did have a conversation with Ben Rogers from TRAM. We are committed to working together to, once this fire station and the surface parking lot temporarily is put into place, to address any additional traffic concerns on Vistamar and to keep the neighborhood informed as to moving forward. So we are in support of this and would ask that you approve this in the interest of public safety for all the residents on the barrier island. I'll entertain any questions. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? Do I hear a motion to close public hearing?
Moved.
Second.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, the public hearing is now closed. Thank you, Bill, for participating in this item. Someone like to introduce the ordinance?
Introduced.
An ordinance of the city of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, approving as a public purpose use pursuant to section 47-18.26 of the city of Fort Lauderdale Unified Land Development Regulations, a surface parking lot and temporary fire station generally located at 735 North Fort Lauderdale Beach Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and legally described as Block 10, Birch Oceanfront Subdivision Number 2, Fort Lauderdale, according to the plat thereof as recorded in Plat Book 21, page 22 of the Public Records of Broward County, Florida, together with the east half of that portion of vacated Breakers Avenue line adjacent to Block 10, Birch Oceanfront Subdivision Number 2, as vacated per official records book 16039, page 239 of the Public Records of Broward County, Florida. Said land situate in the city of Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida, and containing 70,572 square feet, which is 1.620 acres, more or less, granting relief from specific zoning regulations and approving an associated site plan. Commissioner Sorensen?
Commissioner Sorensen, you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Commissioner Moritas?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and the ordinance is approved. Okay, moving on to OFR 1. This is the first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 16 entitled Miscellaneous Provisions and Offenses of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, by creating Article 9 entitled Polystyrene Products and providing for penalties. I have one person who signed up to speak, Catherine Uden. Is Catherine there? Uden.
Been recognized.
Catherine, are you there? Catherine,
Hello.
hi.
Hi, how are you? This is Catherine Newton.
So you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Catherine Newton. I'm the South Florida campaign organizer for Oceana. I want to thank you so much for putting this item on the agenda and to the city's Sustainability Advisory Board for recommending this ordinance. The plastics crisis is really too large for voluntary actions, and legislation does help so much. Plastic pollutes from the time it's extracted from the earth as fossil fuels, and the problem is just going to get worse if we don't act now. Companies were producing in 2015 400 million tons of plastic annually, and the plastic production is expected to quadruple by 2050. Only 9% of plastic produced has been recycled, and only 2% of plastic is effectively recycled into something of equal or higher value. Now, this polystyrene foam usually cannot be recycled. It breaks apart into our environment and harms our marine life. Plastics are flooding our oceans, and we need to step up. Our marine species are being harmed by this plastic debris. Plastic is entering our food chain, and it's very bad for human health. Here in Florida, when we protect our waters, we protect our economy. Many cities, states, and entire countries have passed plastic reduction policies with incredible successful results. Environmentally friendly products have become more readily available, making it easier for business owners to switch to products that won't pollute. Because plastic is bad for human health and bad for the environment, it's also a social justice issue. I'm asking you to vote yes on this ordinance. I saw that the Parrot Lounge was here earlier, and they have been plastic-free and home-free for quite some time, and he can happily let you know that it's very easy right now for business owners to switch over to other products, and it's so important. And we're asking you to support this ordinance as the Sustainability Advisory Board did. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on this item? Okay, there being none, we don't have to close public hearing. So would someone like to please introduce the ordinance?
I would, but Mayor, I had a question for Alan, if that's okay.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. Alan, any issues here with being preempted by the state on this?
Not for polystyrene. There is a specific provision in the statute. There is a preemption with regards to the sale of polystyrene, but there's a specific and express provision in the statute that allows city governments as us to regulate on our own property. So we are able to do that under the statute.
So this is simply regulating this on our own property?
That's correct, on city property. So it extends to individuals, temporary vendors that we may use or that are on our property, as well as our city contractors. But it has to be it's limited to our property or city properties.
Right, so we're not able to go beyond our own property.
Also, like our parks, like Heisinger Park, Esplanade Park, all the parks.
Right, no, I understand. That would be our property.
It's a start.
Yes, okay. Okay, thank you, Alan. I wanted just to get the clarification on that. I appreciate it. I'm good, thank you.
Would you like to introduce the ordinance?
I would be happy to, thank you.
An ordinance of the city of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, amending chapter 16 entitled Miscellaneous Provisions and Offenses of the Code of Ordinances of the city of Fort Lauderdale, Florida by creating Article 9 entitled Polystyrene Products, providing for penalties, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date. Commissioner Sorensen?
Well done, Commission. Yes.
Commissioner Moritas?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Commissioner McKenzie, you have to unmute yourself.
I don't see him.
I don't see him there. Okay.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes. The ordinance is approved on first reading. OFR 2. This is an ordinance creating Article 10, Landlord Registration Program of Chapter 9, Buildings and Construction of Code of Ordinances of the City of Fort Lauderdale. I've been asked to see if we could defer this. Apparently, the real estate community has not had an opportunity to look at it and see what impact it may have. Does anyone have a problem with that on the commission? If we defer this, the Real Estate Association, the Realtors Association asked us formally, asked me if we could defer this. Do we have a problem deferring it?
To when do you want to defer this?
I guess 30 days.
Mayor, I'd make a recommendation so they have time to review. Let's defer to December 15th.
December 15th
When we defer it until December 15th?
till December 15th.
Will they get input from the realtors?
Yeah,
from
by
now
that,
until
that gives them enough time
Yeah.
to.
I'd also like to throw in the apartment group. I don't know what they would be.
Well,
I
it's
can get you
still
an
the-
information. I've received information too from the coalition. I don't know. I'll find it. And then also the condo association. So I can give you information from them too.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, can I hear a motion to defer?
I'll move the defer to
Second.
December 15.
Okay.
Second.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie, not present. Mayor Trentalis.
Yes. So that item has been deferred until December 15th. One of the people that signed up to speak was from the Southeast Florida Apartment Association.
Right. That's the group I was talking about. I'll forward Chris the email. Yeah.
Okay. All right, folks. So
Thank you.
please come back on December 15th if you're interested in speaking with regard to that item. Let's see, moving on to ordinances on second reading. This is OSR 1, second reading ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 9, building and construction fees, landscaping and tree removal permit fees. Anyone have any questions? No one has signed up to speak. Someone like to introduce the ordinance?
Introduced.
Please call the roll.
An ordinance of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, amending Chapter 9 Buildings and Construction, Article 2 Permits and Inspections, Division 2 Fees, Section 9-47 Computation for Work Without Permit, Section 9-48 General Permit Fees, deleting existing sections 9-49 through 9-51, renumbering and amending Section 9-52 Landscaping and Tree Removal Permit Fees, renumbering Section 9-57 Fire Safety Fee Schedule and Sections 9-54 through 9-70 reserved of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida by revising building service permit fees and fees for services related to land development and permitting and providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinance provisions, and an effective date. Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
I don't think he's present.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and the ordinance is now approved on second reading. OSR 2, second reading, an ordinance amending the noise ordinance relating to the construction of large or complex projects, transportation and non-transportation, an exemption for time to comply, establishing additional criteria for the approval and revocation of special permits. No one has signed up to speak. Anyone have any questions? There being none, someone like to introduce the ordinance?
Introduce.
Please call the roll.
An ordinance of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, amending Chapter 17 Noise Control, Section 17-10 Construction of Large or Complex Projects for time to comply of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida by amending the requirement for a noise management plan, authorizing the city manager to grant extensions to special permits under certain circumstances for a limited time period, and allowing for revocation of the special permit, providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinance provisions, and an effective date. Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
No.
Commissioner McKenzie, not present. Mayor Trentalis.
Yes. And the ordinance is approved on second reading. OSR 3, this is an ordinance amending the City of Fort Lauderdale Unified Land Development Regulations. We have 3 people who have signed up to speak. So we'll start with Stephanie Toothaker. Are you on the line?
She is. She's been recognized.
Okay. Stephanie, can you hear me? We can't hear
Give her
you.
just 1 second. She's on mute. She's been moved over to be a panelist. Stephanie, if you can just unmute. There we go.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager. I just wanted to again.
Wait, before you begin, can you please raise your right hand?
It's raised.
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
great. Please
Again,
go ahead.
I just wanted to reiterate my comments from the first reading of this. I support the adoption of the downtown master plan without the last minute amendments. I think last time Jenny Morahone had spoken quite eloquently about the fact that this has been a long time in review and study. And I just wanted to compliment city staff on all the time and effort they put into this. And I just want to thank the commission for their consideration as well. Thank you.
Okay, great. Is Anthony Fajardo on the line?
No, Mayor, we have Al Battle with us
Oh,
tonight.
Al's here. Okay, Al, can you hear me? I'm in the room. Oh, can you hear me?
Hey, Al.
Good evening.
I'm going to get this right one of these meetings.
Surprised you come in here in person.
Okay, so I'm not used to people being here. So with regard to those 4 add-on recommendations from planning and zoning, has your department given any consideration, or has there been sufficient time to give them consideration as we consider this particular ordinance tonight?
So the ordinance before you tonight does include the 400 square foot minimum requirement. So we did add that after last meeting's discussion on that topic. Unfortunately, we haven't had enough time to study the remaining items, and would like the opportunity to do so and bring those back for any other amendments that we would need to go back, look at, bring forward, and have discussion on before we recommend adopting those points of view.
All right. Well, because they were important enough for the Planning and Zoning Board to recommend them. So
right,
we don't have to go through the whole public outreach process in considering those amendments, do we?
I'm not sure for each one. Ella Parker is on the line, and Jim Hetzel is here in person. If you want maybe some additional insight from the folks who are on the ground and are looking at those items specifically. So I'll defer to them if you want to follow up with them.
And when I say this, I'm not saying like we need to add them, but I'm just saying that we should give staff sufficient time to analyze them and see whether or not they are appropriate for making them part of the ULDR. But we need to know either yes or no, so that at least the commission has some idea as to how staff has determined the necessity for these other items that were recommended. That's all.
Sure. My response was more of to maybe add some context to the question of do we need to do a full vetting kind of as part of your question back versus an abbreviated approach.
Is Jim here on
Yeah,
behalf?
Jim is here in person as well.
Okay, Jim Hetzel, could you please?
Good evening, Jim Hetzel, Principal Urban Planner with DSD. To answer your question, staff would need sufficient time to do an analysis based on the other 3 recommendations. As mentioned by Al, we didn't have enough time to do that in the sense of, for instance, the parking, making the minimum 1 parking space. That has implications on the underlying land use for regional activity center because it's opposite of the intent of having that land use designation. That's just like the initial response. So we would have to evaluate further its impact on the land use and other elements like development standards and requirements. That takes time to get through that analysis.
So what time frame are you?
I think, in my opinion, it probably at least 4 to 6 months to complete the analysis of all of the remaining 3 items.
All right. So tonight we're just adding the minimum 400 square foot
Correct. And that was easily to analyze and identified by staff because it's existing in our code for other residential zoning districts. So it already is a minimum requirement that our city code has in it. And a little bit of additional outreach research that was done for other cities and other projects that have that square footage. So that was easy to identify and analyze.
Okay, so there's no existing development project that has recently been built that shows a square footage less than 400 square feet?
No, the closest is Ex-Lessor Society, whatever they're calling themselves now. The minimum was about 426 or 427 square feet that I recall, nothing below 400.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. Anyone have any questions of Mr. Hetzel?
Yeah, couple things, Mayor.
Yes, please.
And maybe it's more directed to you and the commission, or so a couple things just to clarify. So the 400 square foot minimum will be included in what's suggested for tonight, right?
Correct.
Then the next question I'd have, Mayor, is do we as a commission, so just taking those 3 P&Z recommended, do we agree that we as a commission want them to be seriously evaluated and staff spending time on it? I just want to make sure that we just kind of check that before we, expend the staff resources on them would be my first question.
Well, I think in particular, the parking issue should be addressed. This is where planning and zoning recommended.
The one parking spot per residential. Okay.
I mean,
so I have some concerns with that, but if it's, if the majority feel like it's worth investigating, then I'm obviously fine with that.
Okay.
Mayor?
Yes, sir. Wait,
Ben, I'm sorry.
Ben, are you finished?
For that comment. Yeah, go ahead, Vice Mayor. Yep. Thanks, Mayor.
No, I go ahead. You can finish. I just had a comment about the 400 square foot minimum, only because when you look at the minutes of the P&Z, it was brought up by one of the members that, a trend is happening around the country where units are getting built smaller than that. Is that a concern for us at all? Are we just closing the door on that? Or do we think that that's just not right for Fort Lauderdale? Or do we see that on the horizon where units might be smaller than 400 square feet? But I just was intrigued when I read that comment in the P&Z minutes.
Well, it could be all or none of those things that you just said. Obviously, we're making a policy decision tonight as to whether or not we want to keep a minimum of 400 square feet for any housing unit in Fort Lauderdale. So that's a policy decision we're making with regard to quality of life. And so yes, that I believe answers your question.
It's also, this is a minimum throughout many other parts of the city, the 400.
Well,
I understand. No, I understand.
I don't know. Yeah, you're aware of all the places.
400 square feet is a micro unit. That's probably micro enough.
Okay.
Well, I once had an apartment that was 650 square feet, one bedroom. So if you lobbed off the bedroom, that would have brought it down to 400 square feet. And that's pretty tight. So, anyway, any other questions?
I'm good.
Okay. Mayor, just a couple other questions.
Yes,
or
Ben.
comments. Thank you. So just again, just kind of clarity. So staff will explore this one space per residential. Staff will explore the distance requirement between the towers, right? It's right now it's I think 60 feet. The master plan says 30 feet on either side. Anyway, staff will explore that. The third item staff will explore is transition zones, where they're measured from, right? So are they measured from the boundary line of the transition zone or the boundary line of the property, right? So that's the third piece. Then Mayor and Commissioner, the other thing that I've got, let's see, one other ask to see if we could, if you all agree, for staff just to look at is it's what's called wind draft on future construction. So this is the impact of wind.
Yeah.
Of wind on
I think that has to do with that issue is impacted by the distance requirement that you just brought up.
Yep, it will be affected by it. Yeah.
Is that being considered, Jim?
So for that, we do not have the technical resources at DSD to conduct a wind study of our wind evaluation. The Florida Building Code does have requirements in it for structures that are built within certain wind velocity based on, where we are, proximity to hurricanes and so forth under the Florida Building Code. If there is a need for a separate study that analyzes our city, we would need someone to do that for us because we're not experts in that aspect.
So you're saying the Florida Building Code already incorporates these things?
It does to a certain extent, but it deals with it on a Florida Building Codes, statewide approach based on wind velocity requirements and structural requirements. If you want to look at the wind between structures, specifically between structures, then that's something that gets done or could be done through a consultant that's an expert in that field.
That's
two different things. One is as it relates to wind that's blowing around and knocking stuff over. The other is how buildings interact.
Correct.
I think, Commissioner, what you're asking about is the wind interaction between structures.
Correct.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, if it's the desire of the commission for us to study that, we can agree to do that too. We would just, I think what I heard Jim suggest is if we study that, it won't probably happen in urban design and planning, but we could bring in probably on a task order basis, a very capable consultant to do that type of work.
Yeah. Yeah, if that's okay, Mayor, that's what I'd ask.
Okay. So all right. So I think if you can put that on your list of things. Okay. Any other questions? I have a couple more people who signed up to speak. All right. Melinda Boker. Melinda, are you there? Melinda Boker.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Hello.
Can you raise your right hand?
Oh, yes.
It's not a public hearing.
Still. Please raise your right hand.
Raised.
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
So yes, thanks for having me, Mayor Trantalis and Commissioners, Chris and Alan. I am just speaking on behalf of the Downtown Fort Lauderdale Civic Association on this item. I'm the president. I did speak, I guess it was about 2 weeks ago on the same item, and just wanted to reiterate the comments that we made in our letter that was initially prepared for that planning and zoning meeting. The two things I do want to really encourage the commission to, well, I guess tonight to certainly hopefully vote on would be that 400 square foot minimum standard for an efficiency unit. I think the city staff have pretty well outlined some compelling arguments for that. And as Jim said, within my jurisdiction, Society Las Olas has a great style of living, and it's open to residents now, but the smallest one there is 427, and that's for a studio. So I just want to definitely let you know that we're very interested in that still. We're also likewise extremely interested in taking issue with the exemption from parking requirements afforded developers of residential units in the RACCC. We would like a minimum standard of at least one parking spot per residential unit. And I do, also want to just put on the record that, Planning and Zoning Board made these amendments. They were made unanimously by the Planning and Zoning Board. And along with those two items, definitely interested in tower separation and anything on wind to receive further research. That was in the letter that we sent as well. And I think that's it. Very happy that staff was able to provide some research for you guys on the 400 square foot minimum, and hoping that that will pass tonight.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is James Bartholomew there? James Bartholomew? James? James, are you there?
I do not see that name. We do have a couple of call-in people left. We've got
Does it end in 2232?
2232, 6262, or 6538.
I have 2232.
2232. Okay, he's on.
Mr. Bartholomew?
Please unmute or star six, please. Star six.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, can you hear me?
We can now. Good evening.
Thank you very much for the time. Appreciate you all. I am the president and treasurer of New River Landing Condominium Association and vice president of the Downtown Fort Lauderdale Civic Association, but I'm only here representing myself today. I want to thank you guys for putting this item on the agenda. I personally support the minimum 400 square foot and the 1-car parking requirement. As a side note to the commission, I would encourage you all to look at how the current building codes can be exploited and direct your attention to an issue that we had previously where a developer tried to build an 800-ish unit, micro unit housing center that was roughly 244 square feet per unit. The issue was you could use Section 8 government housing vouchers and other programs to create a price per square foot that actually exceeded that of luxury condominiums. So the return on investment on something like that, which is designed to support low-income people, actually becomes a profit center for someone who can take advantage of a system. So when I think about how you conceptualize how to implement sound regulations, I think you start with how do we protect the most vulnerable people? How might people angle to profiteer off of the system and then work backwards from there? And if you think that 400 square feet is enough to disincentivize, taking advantage of a government program and 1-car parking, I think that's a phenomenal place to start. So thank you all for the consideration, and I appreciate the time.
Okay, great. Thank you. Is there anyone else who is interested in speaking on OSR 3? Okay. We don't need to close public hearing. So would someone like to introduce the ordinance on second reading?
Introduced.
Please call the roll.
Before you do that, Commissioner, would you be able to introduce it as amended since we added that additional study?
Okay, so this would be OSR 3 ordinance on second reading as amended.
Introducing ordinance 3 as amended.
An ordinance of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, amending Section 47-13.10, list of permitted and conditional uses, regional activity center, city, et al., amending Section 47-13.20, downtown RAC review process and special regulations, amending Section 47-13.21, table of dimensional requirements for the regional activity center district, amending Section 47-24.1, Table 1, development permits and procedures, and amending Section 47-25.3, neighborhood compatibility requirements of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida Unified Land Development Regulations, providing for the incorporation and codification of portions of the Consolidated Downtown Master Plan for the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, establishing dimensional requirements for the RAC character areas, amending open space regulations, establishing transition zones, and amending downtown landscape and tree requirements, providing for severability, providing for conflicts and repeal, and providing for an effective date. Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and the ordinance is now approved on second reading. Congratulations. This was a long time coming, and thank you, staff and community members and our neighbors who collaborated to make this happen. And let's just hope it works. I think it will. And if we need to amend it, we'll continue that process. OSR 4, second reading, and ordinance amending City of Fort Lauderdale Unified Land Development Regulations, sections 47-1.6 through the revision of the official zoning map of the city, attaching addendum A entitled Official Downtown Character Area Map, depicting the boundaries of the downtown regional activity center character areas. We have one person to speak, but is this a controversial issue? If not, then I think she might just be here to respond to questions. Someone like to introduce the ordinance?
Introduce.
Please call the roll.
An ordinance of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, amending Section 47-1.6 of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida Unified Land Development Regulations through the revision of the official zoning map of the City of Fort Lauderdale, attaching thereto and made a part, and by reference making a part thereof, Addendum A entitled Official Downtown Character Area Map, consisting of depictions of the boundaries of the character areas as established and described in Section 47-13.20.6 of the ULDR. Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and the ordinance is now approved on second reading. The last item we have is OSR 5. This is second reading ordinance amending the City of Fort Lauderdale Unified Land Development Regulations, sections 47-1.6 through the revision of the official zoning map of the city, attaching official downtown transition zone area map depicting the boundaries of the downtown regional activity center transition zones. One person signed up to speak, but I think it's only for questions. So, anyone have any questions on the commission regarding this? Okay, there being none, please, would someone introduce the ordinance?
Introduced.
An ordinance of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, amending Section 47-1.6 of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida Unified Land Development Regulations through the revision of the official zoning map of the City of Fort Lauderdale, attaching thereto and by reference making a part thereof, Addendum B entitled Official Downtown Master Plan Transition Area Map, consisting of a depiction of the boundaries of neighborhood transition areas as established and described in Section 47-13.20.f of the ULDR. Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and the ordinance is now approved on second reading. Is there any further business of the commission?
I have nothing else tonight, Mayor.
Alan?
I just have a quick caveat on CR1. I misunderstood the manager's question earlier regarding the resolution with remote participation by board members. I believe the city manager was asking whether the governor could preempt us with regards to the in-person quorum waiver. That is, we don't think so. And the cities that have done similar to what we have do not think so. But it is a matter of first impression legally in Florida. We haven't received any pushback from the governor, but if in case we do, obviously we'll debate that at the time, but that's the only caveat I wanted to add.
Okay, did you all hear that? We're gonna duel with the governor. All right.
Mayor, just so I'm clear, I just want, so our swearing in would be January 5th, 2021. Do I have that right?
Yes.
That's right.
We just use the old picture.
Okay.
I was younger.
I was younger.
Photoshop the heads in.
You were younger. You're all younger.
Yeah.
3 years.
3 years ago.
Okay, so
Wow.
anyway, I guess that's it. Meeting adjourned. Thank